Greetings and salutations to all. Welcome to part 84 of the Civilization Battle Royale. This is Coyote accompanying you on this massive homecoming, and also I'm Burger Creek and I'm reading what Coyote has written to accompany you on this massive homecoming. As most of you know, it has been nearly 11 months since the last album, and much has changed since then. To start us off, I will be going through a quick preview of the action before we proceed to the 5 turns we will be running for part 84. For those already not well acquainted with all the changes in Mk.2.1, please visit the latest megathread to catch up before proceeding. Also, check out the end of this video because there will be a lot of, well, not a lot of, but some very important announcements that you should definitely listen to if you want to continue following the Battle Royale. The journey begins anew. In view is the submarine's new home, with our Arctic mountain fortress having moved a few tiles to the left to escape the prying eyes of the Boers. Come get settled in, fellow submates. The view should be quite familiar to you. Let's begin by addressing the 3 notifications on the screen. First is the reactivation of Armenians' unique ability due to the religion reset. The UA converts Armenia to the first religion founded in the game, and furthermore, they will be gaining 33% of the faith produced by the founder. As we can see on screen, they immediately gain the Pantheon bonus God of the Sea, which may not be the best given their geography, but should be quite welcome for the Armenian war effort. As far as the conflict in view, Armenia has wasted no time engaging Finland. Tiridati's troops surround their former city Yevantoshat and prepare the siege. No damage upon their initial startup, but their great musicians are there to keep morale high. We now see which religion Armenia has responded to. Australia establishes in Tokyo Catholicism, a very curious choice given Australia's known preferences. One could be tempted to say that their troops abroad in Mesoamerica could have influenced this decision, but this reboot is devoid of such religious history. Important to note too is that this means Australia has God of the Sea, which should be a blessing for all those one-tile islands. In any case, this has been a good excuse to quickly show off the Inuit campaign in the Japanese main islands. A contingent of cyber subs and arsenal ships are prepared to bombard Tokyo in Wakayama. Will the new holy city see a change of hands so soon? Back to Kruger's favoured future world's wonder-filled city of Klerksdorp, where we find the monument the Boers have erected in the former site of the Pholus mutagen's primary hive cluster. A much welcome change to non-Boer fans, the absence of the mutagen comes as the only nerf introduced in Mk.2. This northwest region of Boer Africa also shows how sparse their military distribution has been left after the OCP war. Indeed, the robot horde has all but short-circuited after the pirates spilled their rum on their way out. Not to worry, Boer fans, their newly researched replacements are incoming. A shot of the British Isles, Ingolfur Arnesson's private domain. Quite a peaceful landscape, as this part of the cylinder has not seen war since complete Viking domination. A not-so-lovely view is the ocean, which CBR fans may find horror-inducing by scanning through the carrier-infested navy that congests these waters. Iceland currently leads in capitals with a total of 9 and has indeed been met with great fortune in the previous 800+ turns. We are all curious though what war at home will spell for their destiny. We visit Iceland's neighbour Sweden and find the sleepy giant in quite decent shape. Sweden is currently not at war and their unit composition is definitely more attractive than their counterparts. That is, what they have stationed at their borders. Both Sweden itself and the Central European territory is quite empty. Gustavus Adolphus would be wise to continue rebuilding his former carpet of troops across the empire, as Europe may soon become the next area of contention. A shot of the Boer Corps and their capital Pretoria shows that the mechanized menace is still indeed in full military production. Reinforcements are on their way north as soon as the next turn is clicked. We now turn to Finland, and oh boy, what a concerning view! Finland is presently at war with the most civs, at 7, and they share borders with 5 of them. Chief amongst those opponents are the Boers and Iceland. A quick scan to the countryside reveals they have all the future world's improvements to maintain the war effort, But once again, Urho Kekkonen is on the cusp of overextension. In more ways than one. Not that Finland fans would want it any other way. Let us look at this screenshot from left to right. Outside Jerusalem, we find the Spartan shitposter, leading the Sparta's finest against Finland. Conditions of the reboot finds Hebron back at full HP, but Finland only has 1 hover tank and 3 aircraft here as its only defense. With the aforementioned attention Finland has to give elsewhere, the Spartans must be feeling confident. Down the middle, we see the rest of Tiridati's tripartite state. We also see Vietnam's far western stretch into Eurasia. Even here we find that there are drones at every corner keeping a watchful eye for the Trunk Sisters. This is a vital front for Vietnam, and they will need better military compositions than this to make progress against Sibir. Now, a full shot of Sparta. In the previous few albums, the Exiles and Dvin were able to make a triumphant comeback and capture Epidaurus and Jerusalem. The latter in particular was worth all the extraordinary effort required. Finland's refugee haven of Batticaloa temporarily finds itself back in pristine shape. The Afghan remnants have surrounded the city with their camps, but Sri Lanka next door wants to reclaim their lost city. Time will tell if this estranged community will remain willing to shield their hosts. A look at the western front of the Sibir-Vietnam War. The mountain range here is cleanly dividing the two powerhouses, but the Sibir side lies in smoke. However, the Vietnamese side seems equally empty with fighting units. Right before the reboot, Sibir launched a few nukes around Kandahar, and it has left quite a dent in Vietnam's frontier garrisons. Also something we should point out in this slide is the curious case of a certain teleporting Ashanti pikeman in the top center section of the screenshot. We ourselves don't quite know why, perhaps some bizarre open borders interaction, but it seems Kruger has thrown open a portal in time and has flung them into the future. In this timeline, they find themselves lost in totally foreign territory. Lucky for Ashanti fans though, they are not at war with Sibir in the reboot. Not so fortunate is the fact that a certain other popular refugee unit also perished around these parts. A better view of the Sibir side of Central Asia, and we find that the worker army of Kuchum Khan is ready to repair all the damage done by Vietnam's bombardment. Although what is supposed to be their production core seems all but empty of troops. Not a good sign, as others may have hungry eyes on this clay. Lucky for them that Finland has its hands and toes busy elsewhere. Near the upper right we find a Chinese knight. Standing on a communications array, perhaps they wish to phone home. Now a complete look at Mongolia's core. Say what you want about Mongolia, but the days of cramming every single tile with horse archers are long gone. Mongolia boasts a very attractive army. Not as big as others, but this looks very solid indeed. They have time to rebuild after having first held Yakutia in a long stalemate, and then a victory march with the Koreans inside the disgraced empire's interior. Genghis Khan would do well to take this time to assess the situation and prepare for any opportunity to continue their upward progress. The rest of Mongolia is in view here, and so is Finland's satellite of Koro. The city sure takes a sizable portion of this region, and within its borders are quite a few useful resources. Finland better beware, their garrison is tiny compared to the Mongolian horde. What many are waiting for, the Yakutian holdout city of Beryozovo. Mongolian and Korean forces could not break into the frozen fortress, but all the Brazilian peacekeepers are now in range of the city. With it now being back at full HP though, will the Brazilians be able to deliver enough firepower? The full stretch of what remains of Sri Lanka. They have made the Indian subcontinent's interior their comfy home, but they are surrounded on all sides by their Vietnamese overlords. Can they reach a similar deal as the Tibetans have with Vietnam, or is this a meal for another day? Sri Lanka will surely not make it easy if there is conflict on the horizon, as their military is taking shape and their unit composition biases are quite good. We hope to return here with keen interest soon. The Kimberley Antarctic colonies, so far from home but so safe from danger too. In view is the newly designated capital and exile Wollongara. The Kimberley administration will now surely have cooler heads in charge here, especially after the brazenly heated decision to invade Japan. The jewel of the Trung's crown, Tibet continues to look after the valleys of the plateau's interior. Viewers will now see that Tibet's military has been strengthened by its devotion to freedom in the form of 6 brand new Foreign Legion units. Quite a boon for their defenses, as their value has multiplied many times over. All around Tibet, we continue to see the endless sea of drones. All the skies around the Himalayas are congested with their traffic. A return to Yakutia and the Brazilian peacekeepers. It is still the same turn, so this just serves as a reminder. Of note, though, are the Finnish troops scattered about. Surely Kekkonen could use them elsewhere in their southern reaches. A look at the satellite city Turfan, which has only mobile SAMs for company. What a lonely view, in my opinion. This screenshot also gives us the first decent look at Korean territory. All of this former Yakutian land is still being redeveloped, but Korea seems to have order all settled. One can hope they can capitalize on safely regrouping their armies as well. One can also hope they're paying good attention at the events happening just opposite of their mainland. Korea has quite a good navy here, some carriers here and there, but not to any worrisome degree. With the Inuit applying pressure on Australia's Far East holdings, Korea can be the one to benefit by coming in at the right time and snatching it all for themselves. Our first look at Southeast Asia, and right in the center is the Blackfoot vacation paradise of Olongapo. Not a well-kept secret, but this curious satellite lies right between 2 superpowers. On the Vietnamese side of the region, we see more drones and a mostly cyber-sub navy patrolling the waters. On the Australian side, there appears to be an equal number of workers to that military units. Australia is all but distracted on other fronts. One wonders if war will return to these islands sometime in the future. Oh, Australia, perhaps the most polarizing of the remaining civs. The sub may be divided on their opinion of the Oceania superpower, but this image is quite a show of force. That is, of course, if you can ignore all the carriers scattered about. Before the reboot, Henry Parkes was content with keeping such a large defense force in the mainland. The next few turns will see if units here will be coming to the aid against the war effort in the Pacific Rim. The Chukotkian region of the Inuits' empire finally knows peace, but the presence of a few Australian units here will mean some skirmishes are inevitable. This land was a hard-earned prize for the Inuit, who fought one of the longest ongoing conflicts in the simulation's history to finally consolidate it whole. Once these cities are built up, it could be a springboard from which the Inuit can make progress into Asia. Now on to the Inuit core. Everything is advanced and shiny here, and not only because of the reflection of all the... Have you ever seen ice? Look, man, dude, have you ever seen ice? Ice isn't reflective, it's white. So really, in the Arctic and thus the Inuit territory, it's all white ice. You can see this on Google Maps. You can go on a National Geographic thing and watch screenshots of that region, right? Am I an idiot here? Quite a number of psionic and bionic troopers lie in wait and are ready to be deployed. If only there was a hostile target there for them to actually find use with. A target like this one here. The Blackfoot homeland looks better than ever now, and with slightly more breathing room. There are enough paratroopers to make Brazil, Finland and Armenia jealous. Not that Crowfoot will be moving these troops elsewhere. It's in his best interest to keep the Inuit intimidated. Who knows how the reboot may have affected their relations. The Caribbean at last. My heart swells and my pride rejoices. Henry Morgan may now just have to settle for the Buccaneer Corps for supplies of rum, but there are still quite a few pirate captains willing to fly the black flag with him. The navy is nearly gone, but there are more pirates ready to take the seas. What remains of the fleet is moving towards Nassau. Sadly for them, the city is back to full HP, but lucky for them, Australia will now be too distracted to focus on these troublemakers. The storm is coming, and it screams, Ay Lamau. A little bit to the west, we see more of Australia's Mesoamerican colonies, and also what remains of Texas. Laredo is the biggest city now in the region, and they seem to be rebuilding just fine given what they have to work with. It is unknown whether the Hawaiian peacekeepers will continue to be an asset for them, or if they're getting in the way. The Australians, for that matter, are bracing for the coming Inuit offensive. Already some XCOMs have made the jump over and have begun to rouse a ruckus. The defense seems able for now, but there is no telling if there will be any reinforcements from the Australians anytime soon. Further northwest, we see a glimpse of the Blackfoot's newly acquired nuclear wasteland. More paratroopers mark the dominance they now display here. If it was not for lowly Olongapo in Southeast Asia, the Blackfoot might be tempted to make easy gains here by declaring war on Australia. Surely most viewers would find it to be a worthy trade. Often ignored South America, now all but in Brazilian hands. Here we see the Brazilian core, and quite a massive land army assembled. Ever since Mini Pedro came to Big Pedro's life, things have been going oh so well. Australia stands to lose their South American trophies to this might. A look back to Sparta. Quite a contrast in colour, I dare say. Not much more to point out here as it remains the same initial turn. Although, I can have you direct your eyes at the Boer workers transforming North Africa. I'm afraid not much of a desert will remain soon enough. Proper assessment now of the detachment of the Ice Sheet fleet that the Inuit have here aimed at Australia's Japan. The Inuit can cause much damage and with great speed if they use these units wisely. There are a few melee warships here as well, we can only hope they will be used correctly and on the right time. The former Hawaiian homeland. Not much of a paradise now, and war has returned to the islands. The Inuit have already landed XCOMs outside Ilo and are poised to take it soon. The navy is also just within range. Blackfoot cities flank this region. Again, I'm left to wonder if the Blackfoot would do good in taking advantage of the current situation. Back in Nassau, we can see the Inuit are ready to lend the pirates a hand. More of a kind gesture for now, but this screenshot shows that there is not much to defend these cities from the pirates if and when they can spill forth from the Great Canal. A better appraisal of the mismatch awaiting the Australians here, as the defences don't seem at all adequate for what the Bucks and Brazilians will soon be unleashing upon them. Brazil is not quite ready to begin attacking en masse, but their odds are looking very good here, although Belize may be in trouble of flipping. Oh! Garbage patch remnants. Outside Hervey Bay and not Tulum. Not the best deployment order, Sparks, but it will have to do. Further north it may look dire for the Australians, but this screenshot shows that Brazil's Incan holdings are in equal danger if the coasts remain so empty. The ever-persistent diggers are coming. An even further front in Australia's Pacific Rim defense. Concepcion is surrounded, and Brazil has the paratroopers and XCOMs to swamp all their open tiles. A return to Central Asia and the obstacle that is the Finland satellite of Tumen to Vietnam's push into Sibir territory. Tumen bottlenecks troops to Bamda, and the reboot has Sibir looking pretty good here. Vietnam needs to get those drones to the front right away. The Balkans Iceland acquired last part have all been healed up. Their forces are still not pushing together, but this will surely be the meeting place for all the troops coming from Iceland's production centers. Already a few paratroopers go forth to Iceland's prize and probably true objective in this war, Constantinople. If Iceland can claim that city, they will be the first with a double-digit count of capitals. Currently a great achievement for the Vikings. Our first look at the religion overview. Australia has picked up 2 production bonuses, and both will serve them well in the future. That is, of course, if Catholicism can spread down to their territory. They do gain the Pantheon bonus, but with Tokyo tucked in the far reaches of their domain, it may not be likely their homeland will get to benefit from any further bonuses. Armenia, having converted, may just spread more faith than anything from Japan. We wondered why Australia was so quick to getting the religion right away. For those wishing for an answer, it is because of the religious wonders built by the Kimberley and Rubibi that have given them the edge. Those bizarre wonder choices have come back to baffle us once more. The Boer Indian Ocean. This area was the site of a brief scare by Australia not too long ago further south, but it's pretty empty now. Perhaps room to grow after the robot armies are rebuilt on the mainland. Herat, a city at the center of the Vietnam-Sibir War. Also, site of many nuclear drops. Amongst them could have been what extinguished the flame of the beloved Legion. We will never know exactly. A view of Hanoi and the rest of Vietnam's primary production clusters just up north. Drones fill the skies in all directions. How different things may have been if Vietnam had focused on different techs, as Vietnam's unit biases in their mod file is quite different to what is on display. Say hello to our Babylonian Spy Division. Some returning names, like the lovely M, but also fresh new ones. We waste no time and send them all off to have a look-see at some of the leaders of the simulation. We might get something juicy from them, or we might be shared their pipe dreams. Hopefully more of the former though. As astute viewers have seen, we are now finally at turn 2, and Iceland here has made their first move. More paratroopers converge on Constantinople, and XCOM are not too far behind. The city of Elis has taken damage from the Finnish aircraft stationed nearby, but Finland has no units to do anything about that at this time. Back in Tibet, and still no new religion. Maybe the faith output is still not strong enough, even after our palace modification. Some may notice that Vietnam has indeed moved some units towards Siberia, but quite a long way for them to go to reach the flashpoints. Inuit forces are en route to battle too. However, these troops can close the required distance in no time. Let us focus on the top half of the screenshot. In the upper left, we see that the Boers are moving a number of mobile SAMs northwards. They may have run out of hover tank parts, as there are only 2 of them here. Now, in the upper right, we see Batticaloa has taken damage right away. Also of note is that a Sri Lankan bazooka is already at the port, and a Finnish carrier was sitting there just a turn ago. It seems the Boers are prepared to give them a hand in this fight. Fighting is all over Finland's southmost territory. The border gore here looks in danger of being cleaned up, as Kekkonen has moved out the hover tanks to focus on Constantinople's defense rather than Nicomedia and Hebron. The Spartans rejoice. A look at Armenia shows that they have taken a heavy blow right away in one turn. Yerevan is surrounded by hover tanks, and at first glance the Armenian units they dispatched seem to be in disarray after their battle lines were breached. They're not the only ones dismayed though, as I don't see Spartan shitposter anywhere. The infantry units are there untouched, but the hoplite has vanished. The Finnish hover tanks left elsewhere, so it appears the aircraft stationed in Hebron found it best to take him out rather than focus on more pressing high-value targets. I am sad, truly. So much effort on my part for nothing. And there's like a semicolon and a capital A and another semicolon. I don't know how you would say that with words. The Sibir-Vietnam front seems to be experiencing a lull in the fighting, as both sides are regrouping. No damage seems to be exchanged at all, although some troops may have perished to aircraft. Large-scale fighting should resume here soon enough. Still the same turn, but a better look at Batticaloa and Sri Lanka's attack. If the Boers continue to support them, they could be able to reclaim their city after so much time under Finland's control. The Afghan refugees are not being cooperative though. To the north, drones begin to move to the front line. We return to Beriozovo to find that the Yakutes have taken the fight to Brazil and are weakening the incoming paratroopers. Pedro also seems to have ordered half of the units here to return home, rather than focus on the target 10 tiles away. The way things look, Yakutia fans should be safe in feeling that they will join the other rump states in perpetual isolation. Inuit forces begin to attack in earnest. Yokohama seems to not be lasting another turn before accepting occupation. This fight is far from one-sided though, as Australia has artillery and aircraft returning fire to the attackers. The target of Australia's aircraft is made clear in this screenshot. The Inuits' only port in the region, Mililani-Mauka, has instantly been taken down to 0 HP. No units anywhere capable of clipping the city, so the Inuit must be content in having the bombs continue to rain down here. Also in this screenshot, we get our first good look at what remains of Hawaii. Kaneohe seems rather healthy, at an incredible 34 population. There truly is always more Hana waiting. Talk about fish in the sea. Seldom visited Australian Antarctica is also not spared from the Pacific-wide conflict. Inuit troops here are more of a nuisance than a threat, but still enough to disrupt any plans Australia had in bringing troops from here to the front. As expected, Brazil pounces on Concepcion. The defenders are already concerned, and there is no help in sight. This is all too easy for Brazil. Quite a contrast to the previous image, in this screenshot we find that it is Brazil needing to bolster its defenses. Vilcas stands to change hands next turn, but losing Vitkos and Corihuayrachina would help the Australians create a beachhead. They have proven to be quite good at holding their own from such positions elsewhere in the Americas. Back in Buccaneer waters, the fight to reclaim Nassau has begun. Minimal damage has been done to the city, but Buck melee units stand in wait. Can the Inuit XCOM snipe the city instead of keeping the Bucks contained right where they want them? It would surely be a masterstroke by a Kunik. The Finnish core reveals just how little battle strength they have at their disposal. This is textbook overextension. Finland is all but a paper tiger under these conditions. Holy denouncements, Batman! Rion informs me that all of these notices on the right are to show the world's disagreements for the last bastion of freedom. How undeserving! Also, I should inform you that this is now turn 3. On the screenshot proper, we see more Vietnamese drones about. Sri Lanka is also here taking in the view from the helicopters. All of the hover tanks around Yerevan are now gone. Have they been destroyed, or are they the ones damaged on the upper part of the screen? Kekkonen may be using these hover tanks like cavalry, especially since down below more of these have suddenly surfaced outside Hebron. Can Finland be pulling the clutch plays here? Nothing is impossible for Finland. A better view of Sparta reveals that the Boers here are focusing on Nicomedia instead of aiding the efforts around Hebron. The Spartan infantry does seem to be forming a good protective line around Jerusalem. There is hope yet that they will be able to strike when things look more favourable for them. On the Iceland front, Finland also seems to have repealed the Master Capital snipers. Ellis continues to receive damage, but Iceland still seems to be moving troops eastward. A look at Gaza shows the Finland aircraft is now focused on the city completely. Unless a few XCOMs retrace their forefathers' footsteps, it does not seem likely that Gaza will return to Finnish control. In the upper right corner of the screenshot, we see that Vietnam has recommenced the fight against Sibir. However, a deadlock is all too likely to continue. The defenders of Batticaloa have removed nearly all the HP from the blockading bazooka. The city itself has also not taken less damage. It still appears it healed back to nearly the same HP, but if this is the case, it seems that the Boers have started turning their attention elsewhere. Well, Sri Lanka, you tried. Better luck next time. Proper view of the Sibir Vietnam front shows that things are indeed business as usual. Although it does appear that Sibir has committed more than Vietnam has. More committed is correct. Sibir seems to have turned the momentum around before the reboot, with their units having entered the range of Bamda. Vietnam needs to be paying attention. Another look at Beriozovo also confirms my previous suspicion. Brazil will not be committing to removing the rap god from the cylinder. Tigin Darkan fans everywhere, please share your praise, in rhyme, in the sub as soon as possible. Yokohama falls to Inuit forces, and Wakayama appears next. The naval blockade appears a tiny bit too overextended, and is taking fire from unnecessary angles. The fleet best keep its melee units safe. Elo 2 is now in complete danger. The Pacific gets that much colder. In turn, Brazil also claims the easy target upon them by taking Concepcion. Still some Australian stragglers about, but Pedro can feel confident that this front has been taken care of. Up north, the situation is a bit more complicated, but Brazil is again making the most out of it. Vilcas and Huamanga stand at no HP left, and there are several melee units in range to raise the true green flag. Corihuayrachina does continue to take fire from Australian forces, and you can see a digger just outside his natural habitat, the inhospitable battle-worn beaches. One last hurrah for them in this cybernetic age. The pirates are hitting Nassau like a hurricane, and certainly Australian opposition has been blown away. A relief force stands by Port-au-Prince, but it may be too late. Turn 4 is upon us. The great polymath Al-Kindi aids Kuchum Khan on what must be some secret spy mission in Central Europe. All is quiet on the Western Front. Perhaps too quiet for the sub's liking. A quick survey of the landscape reveals both Sweden and Iceland have similar troops and improvements in this region, Both sides certainly do share a peaceful bond, although Iceland should really be moving some of the garrison here towards Finland. Oh, it seems like they're doing just that. Pressure outside Constantinople continues to build, but the city's walls stand tall and intact. This is too even a match to call right now. Nicomedia below is getting battered by the bows though. Aerial exchanges are the name of the game here in the Levant. Jerusalem is left open for capture, while the Spartans seem content with letting Armenia do all the fighting. Although with more mobile Sams moving in, Leonidas needs to think fast or lose out on some easy clay. In Yerevan, the situation is more desperate. Armenia's entire military scrambles to secure objectives, but they may have sent out far too many deep behind enemy lines, instead of focusing on any one target. If Finland could spare but a few XComs, this fight may be well over for them. Life in Batticaloa returns to normal. Regular Sri Lankan shellings in the morning, imported Afghan delights in the evening. The Boers begin to populate the Indian Ocean once more. Still too many carriers about, but their overall proportion should be minimizing as the simulation progresses. At first glance, the Vietnam-Sibir front appears as static as ever, but it is actually Sibir that had regrouped their forces faster and is making a bid for Nishapur. Kudos to the Sibir generals for their exemplary coordination. This screenshot shows the shift in momentum much more clearly. Bamda is surrounded and relief is surely not there in time for the city to flip next turn. Vietnam has moved out the aircraft stationed there previously, as the city awaits Sibir occupation. Brazil is still making some sort of attempt to Beriozovo, but one is left wondering if the troops here should best be moving in to attempt a snipe of an Australian city brought low by the Inuit Armada, instead of waiting around here in the Arctic Circle. First look at Western Australia and all the former Kimberley homeland. What a massive army Parks has assembled here, and what a great distribution of future world improvements. This will surely be a challenge for any of the final contenders once they come within range of this continent. The Inuit navy outside Japan has thinned out a bit, and there are now no more melee units remaining. They have done damage but can't deliver the final blow. Seong, this is as good a time as any, my man. Liberate the anime. Much more promising for the Inuit is the attack on Ilo. An XCOM awaits the next turn to seal the capture. At this point, it may prove better for the focus to shift towards these island chains. It's difficult to say if the Australian Navy is moving to or from the front lines here without context. Parks has the numbers here to scare away the pirates and keep the Brazilians at bay, but they are not much use here in the open waters. One hopes it was all the unit stations outside Hervey Bay we saw earlier moving in. Nassau is taken. The Canal City returns to its rightful hands. The Bucks waste no time and gush forth again onto the Pacific. Their cities may not be in the best shape, but many pirate captains have full crews intact to start terrorizing the Australian ports. Further north, the Inuit also bring shock and awe with their XComs. Uxmal looks to be their target to divide and conquer. Oh, Pedro, have you not stopped reading that dreadful How to Fight Wars good yet? Humanga and Vilkas remain in Australian control, while the Diggers are victorious down in Corihuayra. Brazil has more than enough units here to settle the fighting and be moving onwards toward Tulum, but they're all positioned strangely with, for example, a railgun blocking any Brazilian attempt at capturing Vilkas. The defenders have been given too much of an opportunity. On the southern end of the continent, Brazil has finished cleaning up Australian resistance. The commander of this front should be sent north with great urgency. We visit the wayward Mexican rocket artillery, which is vacationing near the first of many burial sites of Sitting Bull. You won't find Kiaxar Cemetery with anything more than a reminder that the funeral once took place here. Some worshippers even now continue to hope for a further resurrection. Perhaps this is more of a pilgrimage on part of the Mexicans. Nothing else to see here, folks, just all my hype broken. And then there's another, like a semicolon, but like a small W, and then another semicolon, which also I have no idea what that is supposed to be. Turn 5, and immediately the hype returns. Mongolia truly needed to calculate its next move well, and this is genius. With Finland stretched beyond comprehension, its satellite cities are easy targets for Mongolia to achieve its much-needed growth to remain in contention. 3 such cities are well within range, and Mongolian units move right into the outskirts of Turfan. Whoa, mama! Koro is literally swept away in one turn. All defenses gone in a flash. Mongolia's shock troops have left only but a single defender alive. Lesson to learn here, folks. Don't be as pensive and cautious as Korea. Such a glorious opportunity for Mongolia. Setting aside the fact that Armenia continues to be at the mercy of Finland, moving in a single Mel unit, we can see on the far left that the Boers have done what the Spartans were too timid to do themselves. Nicomedia falls to the robot overlords. Curiously, Hebron has not even been scratched. Too much Dvinish blood in these lads. Also, of note in this screenshot, Armenia enters the atomic era. If Finland takes too long, it may just receive a few nukes as parting gifts. A better view of the mobile Sam that has claimed Nicomedia. Kruger is no longer shy within his confines of Africa. He wants to explore new vistas. Iceland's Arnarsson too wants to explore new sites, like the interior of another capital city. Constantinople takes damage once more, and more troops are lining up for their shots at the walls. Don't get carried away too much with that sightseeing, Arnarsson. Helsinki is one vacation too far. A lone Arsenal ship Leroy Jenkins its way right into the heart of enemy territory, and to the port gates of the Finnish capital. We can use these screenshots to also appreciate, or unappreciate, the severe lack of units for Finland in what is their core homeland. With 7 opponents, or 1/3 of all remaining contestants at its throat, it may finally, just maybe, be enough to awake Sweden from its slumber. On the Arabian Peninsula, we also see a distinct lack of activity. More Boer mobile SAMs continue their march north, to Hebron. Vietnam appears to have stabilized this southern front again after a bit of a scare on Nishapur. The city is far from safe, but Sibir could have engulfed it this turn. However, Bamda does flip to Sibir. A giant death robot stands at attention, ready to undo their victory. The drone army also has finally arrived. On the Sibir side of the mountains, the workers have dutifully repaired all the damage from the Vietnamese nuclear strikes. The mighty factory metropolis of Tobolsk is back online. Finland had ordered these mobile SAMs away, and now they race back to fight the battle closer to their border gore home. It's too little too late though. Mongolian troops are ready to very warmly greet them back. Southeast Asia, now the least visited of regions. The Indonesian homeland, now so carefully taken care of by its Kimberley stewards, attempts to also be as least noticed as possible. From this observer's point of view, the contrast in colours here is just lovely. Take a moment to see. Inuit forces seem to have botched this invasion. Tokyo and Wakayama stand there as vulnerable as ever, but now the Ice Sheet Fleet and Yokohama are equally unsafe. Australia remains ever lucky to not be losing more cities. Well, it seems like I spoke too soon. Here is the first successful Inuit capture. With Ilo secure, the troops move to Kahului. You know, Crowfoot, it's still not too late. Take it from a pirate. X marks the spot, and you're sitting right on it, kind of. It's literally, it's right there. It is just right there! Judging by the retreating Australian Expeditionary Force, it would appear they have finally decided that the Sunshine Coast is indeed more lovely than this nuclearly ravaged one. Inuit XCOMs remove their opposition. It is now time to claim some clay. Brazil corrects the mistake at Corihuayra, but what remains is maybe even more embarrassing. Huamanga has had a paratrooper and an XCOM hugging it before, and neither have taken the 0 HP city. A railgun also still blocks the path into Vilkas. Worst case scenario is for them to peace out on this note, and leave the resurgent Bucks their hard-earned prizes. Australia may have no more chances at claiming Patagonia. but it still sends forth missiles to lay its cities to rubble. What a waste of energy. And civilians also. We were beginning to worry there. Our faith modifications just needed a little bit more of a boost. Tibet shoves out its great prophet, and it is none other than L. Ron Hubbard. Living in such frivolous freedom, the Tibetans really do not shy away from controversy. We await the next turn for their choice of religion. Hopefully, something more welcoming. Martin Luther, in this most commemorative 500th anniversary of his Reformation, joins us in Rangoon. The Trung sisters await to listen to what he has to say. The Blackfoot welcome the ascetic preacher Arius to their side. Not a well-known figure, but he had much influence in early Christian theological philosophy. Will he here too forgo the risen Son, aka Sitting Bull, in place of the Father, Papa Jumping Bull? The Spartans just got a lot more busy. The Boers are moving in, and they are not keen in coordinating with Dwin on anything. They brush aside what remained of Finland's ground defences and move on through. In Addis Ababa, the great Orisha Orunmila comes forth. While of West African descent rather than East African here, Orunmila is not so far from home. Let's see what wisdom he can impart on the cyborgs. Maybe it'll become a ghost in their shells. Well, turn 6 now, and it seems Orunmila spirited himself away and had Martin Luther and Rangoon take his place. Lutheranism is founded and quite fitting for a more deterministic spirituality to take root here. Before we leave this screenshot, take a look at the worker army transforming the Sahara. A familiar sight here as Theravada is founded in Rangoon. Theravada is a sect within Buddhism and is the oldest still continuous lineage of Buddhism to continue to this day. Citizens of the Vietnamese Empire can look forward in continuing the teachings of their forefathers. I can hardly believe what is shown here. Has there ever been an instance, especially with the mods adding that much more religions and prophets, of the great prophet founding their appropriate religious faction? Worst of all, this may just be the Mk.2 of this version, as the Blackfoot have foregone their secondary choice of Vakantanka to pick a totally random faith. I am truly dismayed. It seems the Blackfoot don't value Sitting Bull so much anymore after letting him down quite literally 2 more times. Regardless of my disappointment, this new religion will come as a big boon for the Blackfoot. As the only religion in the Americas, they have much to gain. Perhaps this is just what they need to eventually come out on top. Sparta founds dodecatheism in Jerusalem. At least someone is staying true to form. For those not in the know, the translation is of the Hellenic faith for the 12 pantheon of Greek gods. Now, whether the denizens of Dwin are now worshipping horny Zeus and his demented children, or perhaps the party pope, god of the dead and entertainment, and his festive mates is yet to be seen. Dionysus in particular seems to be present no matter what the sub thinks. It remains to be seen if this religion will be as widely successful as the one it replaces, since Armenia up north will be spreading Catholicism. Also of note in this screenshot, Sparta has built no new military units. They won't be capturing anything if this keeps up. Some people just can't catch a break, always sandwiched between things. Malok curses his Ayubid blood and fortune. Oh no, what has happened here? Songstan Gampo has chosen not to use his prophet. Ron Hubbard shuns the Tibetans. Or maybe, just maybe, and I'm just putting on a tinfoil hat here, Songstan Gampo is smarter than us all. You can't lose favour with the competing Vietnamese religion if you don't have one yourself. And now you put the meme with the bloke with the finger in his eye. In our tests, this had never happened though. When it counts, they seem to have faltered. Tibet chose Vajrayana each time. Seems they're keeping true to their philosophy and keeping the esoteric tantric teachings hidden from public sight. Rion points out the First World Congress proposals. Rather tame ones, but should find favour with the leaders. An even better view of the reversal of desertification by the Boers. Hydroponic domes and industrial complexes will now consume the landscape, Imagine what it would be with overlapping mutacologies instead. And then he has an X and a dot and another X, which... What even is that? Finland definitely needs to be worried. Exhausted, attrition has done its work. Constantinople stands on the verge of flipping to Iceland. We will see the first double-digit capital holder next turn? Maybe. Maybe not. Armenia also is nearby waiting. They can either go for the snipe of the main prize or take Varna easily themselves. If Finland is on the cusp, then Armenia faces the precipice. All their cities are one punch away from disaster. Only Finland's strain on available resources and battle strength is saving them right now. Serbia continues their push into Vietnam. Ganzi now stands in the path of occupation. Seldom a response here by Vietnam. Further up the mountain range, Bam De lies vulnerable again. Vietnam just needs to locate a melee troop to undo all the damage in their border. Also of note here, Tumen has all but been abandoned by Finland. Mongolia is the new champion for everyone who despises border gore. Such a lovely, clean look. We return to Beriozovo, where the threat has fully subsided. Life will begin to settle down. Or, stay frozen here. At the very least, Tigin Darkhan has one communications array to drop his hot new single, to keep his citizens warm with his booty-shaken rhythm. Oh, don't forget to notice a Finland attempt at Tom Tor too, apparently. Turfan is surrounded on 3 sides. The Mongolian horde is crashing at its gates. Genghis Khan should look to be quickly adding this city to his collection before turning westward to Tumen. Australian relief units pour in from Southeast Asia. The time for the Inuit has run out here. Yokohama also now stands undefended and vulnerable, if attention is not taken away from Tokyo. As clever readers looking at the minimap will have already noticed, Guadalajara is indeed now in Inuit control. With their Asian campaign collapsed, here in Mesoamerica their chances are looking much better. Australia can still mount a comeback, but Inuit forces will be of noticeable better quality and quantity from here on out on this front. The Bucks continue to smell blood, and like sharks get closer to reclaiming their lost territory. By the time of this album's release, it will be the 19th in many parts, so go ahead. Talk like a pirate on this glorious occasion. Brazil continues to be outsmarted by the Australians, but brain can only withstand so much brawn, and indeed the Brazilians still have an overwhelming number of units compared to the defenders. Next turn should do it, hopefully, fingers crossed. And with that folks, the time has come for the Info Addict screens. Now don't be bummed, this is an important part of the program as well, so don't leave your seat, and also don't leave your seat because of the important announcements at the end of this video. They're really important. The Boers' lead in population looks to be as unsurmountable as ever, with them having quite an advantage over even the second place Australians. Iceland has jumped up quite a bit, with them having more than even spread out Vietnam. With Finland losing out on some cities, the Blackfoot can enter the top 10. On the low end, you have all the rumps content with their tiny holdings. Except of course Hawaii, which has in its sole one-tiled city island more than the bottom 5 combined, and even decently sized Mongolia. Lol what? I want me some of that. Land area, as always, is a bit tricky since it also counts ocean tiles. Australia still leads this by a healthy margin, but it is quite deceptive of their true power. Here again we find the Blackfoot enter the top 10 in place of Finland. Their star is truly on the ascent. Nearly the same outlook for the bottom half of this list than for the bottom half of the land list. I hope the Bucks can leave this place again someday. No, not because they're eliminated. One would be surprised judging by this album's performance, but Australia remains the top dog in terms of weaponry. The Inuit and Vietnam also tower above the depleted Boers. Brazil comes at 5th place and should really be extending this number soon. Even with 6 brand new foreign legions, Tibet is still somehow behind Sparta, but only just. The Spartans don't want to be associated with such pacifists. Here in the bottom half is also the Bucks, which keep on swinging and fighting well, and of course Armenia, which keeps firing in every direction. Something is odd here in the text, but Lime told me not to think too much. Very well then, the top 4 have now researched all there is in the game, and should not be focusing elsewhere. Coming up behind them is Serbia and Iceland, which should not take too long to reach the finish line as well. Many might find it just a little bit funny to see Yakutia in the top half. Look at us Babylonians, smarter than 9 other civilizations. Testament to all the studying we've done on the hiatus. We are truly better people, having lived through it. Looking at this screen, you could hardly believe Mongolia and the Blackfoot are so far, given their current position and unit compositions. Our first complete religion overview. These are your 5 new religions, if you don't count Catholicism making a return. Vajrayana should join them shortly, hopefully. The spread right now is still only in the first original cities, plus Yerevan thanks to Armenia's UA. Here we have what everyone is truly interested in seeing, the religion bonuses. Catholicism has doubled down on production, Lutheranism picks faith for their nearby desert, and the Boers nation-state bias seems to be showing. Theravada gets what I consider to be a big bonus in providing cities with additional damage output. This should make the Vietnamese cities tough to capture if spread well. Dodecatheism seems to have gotten the short end of things, with only Reformation probably providing a way for Sparta to catch up in tech. Arianism with absolutely well-balanced picks for the Blackfoot to gain on multiple factors. Will this be the difference that colors North America a different shade of blue? The religion map. Usually a slide we look to in order to spot new cities, but it once again becomes a good source for us to gauge the spread of the religions. Mostly business as usual, but Tibet's lack of religion and Armenia's UA are sure to mix things up considerably. Sparta's religion may have not had another faith to compete with in Cairo, but it has Catholicism right next door. Poor Ayyubid descendants, how history repeats for you. So ends the first album on the return from the hiatus and the first running of Mk.2.1, but stick around for the announcements. I'm glad for all those of you that join us once more, and for those visiting for the first time. If you thought this was a great part, you're not prepared for the next. Come back next week, and every week after that, for more. Signed by Coyote. And now we come to the very important part of this video. After many of these installments, the time has come for me, Burger Creek, to say goodbye to you all. After the Mk.2 died almost a year ago, I spent some time in the development of Mk.3 but was eventually left with nothing to do. Instead of doing nothing, I started my own projects. I launched the YouTube channel I'd always wanted, where I talk about stuff, mostly political, in a somewhat polemic and very much shitposty manner. I focused on my writing and launched an audiobook channel that more or less publishes a short story narrated by me every Wednesday. So, you know, if you want some of my voice, that's the place to go. I'm also finally writing a novel. None of these projects are as successful as the CBR right now, but they are my projects, and I can't give them up. My schedule has become too busy to continue doing these audio narrations on the regular. The Blue Cassette team is working on replacing me, but I don't know what exactly that looks like. Don't worry, I won't be totally gone. I'll still follow the CBR and jump in for emergency narrations here and there, but I will no longer be actively involved with the Mk.2. This is very important. In the future, all audio narrations of the CBR will be uploaded to the official Battle Royale YouTube channel, which I have linked in the description below. All of the older episodes done by Dawkins and me will be uploaded there, and future ones too. If you wish to continue following, you will have to subscribe there. I'd like to thank you all for sticking with me through this. Starting the audio narrations was a huge developmental step in my life, and your support has given me the abilities and the confidence to do what I wish to do, and that's very important to me. I'd like to thank T. Pangolin for creating such a fantastic, monumental project and letting me be a part of it. It's been a life-changing experience for me. I'd like to thank the Blue Cassette team for reviving the Mk.2, getting new life into this community, and also their excellent choice of a team name. I hope you don't forget me when you're living among the stars as supremely successful developers and I'm underneath some bridge because I chose the wrong path in life. I'd like to thank everyone and anyone involved in the development of any mark of the CBR in any capacity. And I'd like to thank you, the community, again, because you're what makes this thing special, and I feel like you can't be thanked enough, really. I would very much love it if you could subscribe to one or both of my new channels, depending on your personal preferences, and maybe become a fan of mine for different reasons altogether. All the channels are on screen right now, and probably have been for a while. So it is, with a heavy heart, that I speak my iconic words of goodbye for one last time. Oh wait, it turns out I don't have any iconic words of goodbye. There's no catchphrase that I could put here. How am I going to end this video then? Well, this is difficult. Maybe this video will have to go on forever on account of me being unable to say goodbye in some capacity. Oh well, it might be the best goodbye that is no goodbye. So if I just cut the recording right